Hello and welcome to Everyone's a Storyteller. This is a series of interviews by local leaders here in the Houston area as they give advice to youth from the Ensemble Theater's Young Performers program. I'm Dr. Daintee Jones, and I serve as Director of Fund Development here at the theater. And I am so pleased to share with you today that we're going to get to chat with Mr. David Ryan. So, Mr. Ryan, would you tell us about yourself and share what your title is?
Yes, good morning, everybody. I I am a current operations manager. I work for First Watch Restaurants. We're a cafe. The one I work at is located right here in Houston, what we consider the Meyerland area. And I've been doing this job as an operations manager. I don't really consider it a job, but I've been filling this position for almost 2.5 years.
That is great. And would you share with us more about your present position as operations manager?
Yes, so I oversee a group of 27 team members or employees. Um, they range from cooks to servers um, and other various positions such as host and busser. So I oversee the team. Um, I I'm responsible, for really their well-being while they're here. But also I give them structure, their schedules for the week. I give them their daily goals, what we're going to achieve that day. Um, I also help them with other various things that, you know, come about. Whether they need, some paperwork for them buying a house, or they need some information that they've got to turn over to, a government office. I'm sort of that liaison between the corporate and the store. So I also order all the food. Um, I order all the supplies, and more important than anything, I oversee the safety and the cleanliness of our restaurant. Making sure everything is sanitized, ensuring that all the food is kept at proper temperatures, and delivering a great experience for each and every customer that walks through our doors. That is my main job. Um, is that great experience, and make sure everything is maintained very safe.
Oh, so your hands are full. Thank you
Yes,
so much. Thank you for the quality that you bring to the restaurant. I truly, truly enjoy when I eat there. So thank you so much for all that you do to make sure things run smoothly and that there's structure there for the employees. I appreciate it. Also, I'm so glad that you're sharing with our students what it takes to be an operations manager in case any of them want to move into the restaurant field. So I appreciate that.
you're
All
welcome.
right, here's your next question.
All
What
right.
kind of storytelling is helpful in your position, whether it's inspirational or encouraging, logical, etc.? What kind of storytelling do you tend to use?
Well, that's a great question. The storytelling happens virtually every day. Um, I consider my storytelling um, where I'm teaching and coaching and giving advice. I often, like I mentioned to my son, I said, I've been in your shoes before at your age, and you can either go down this road, which falls off the side of a mountain, or you can go down this road that takes you right to, your destination safely. I went down this road before and almost fallen off the mountain. So when I say I wouldn't go down that road if I were you. I would take that one. It's because I've been down both roads. So often when I tell stories at work, um, I will share my past experiences. For example, when we make omelets are very sensitive, um, because you don't want to use too much heat on them because it'll discolor the egg, especially if it's egg white. It'll turn a little shade of brown. So you want to cook them very carefully on a lower temperature. So when I'm training a new cook, they want to cook it very quick, but they put the flames up high, and I know the end result. So I'll tell them a story that my first time making an omelet, and that way people can relate, you know, and find out the why. I think oftentimes, um, you know, I notice folks and the newer generation, they often will do anything you ask if they just know the why. Well,
Mhm.
why do we do it this way? Um, and then I often share stories of why, and what results could benefit them and everybody else around them. So I do it every day, actually.
That is wonderful that you do that. I agree with you about sharing the why when we are telling stories. It just makes so much sense. And then it gives like a contextual clue to whoever is on your team or whoever is listening to you about how important it is, about the message that you're sharing. And if you look at different stories in our culture, don't they usually explain why?
Yes,
There's usually why and a conflict so that there can possibly be a resolution. So yeah, that's so important to
I
say
agree.
why. Yeah,
I'm gonna
thank
answer
you,
that
thank you for
why.
that.
Mhm.
Yes, why is so important. Hey, then here's your next question.
Okay.
Can you give an example of how you've used storytelling to turn a challenging situation into a successful testimonial in your professional or your personal life?
Okay, that's a great question. So prior to being in the restaurant business, I was a fraud investigator with a larger retail uh, store. Um, so one of my duties were to investigate cash losses or cash theft, and basically, we would get reports saying that, you know, David B has been short on their cash drawer on this day, this day, this day, this day. And I would look at those reports and then start doing an investigation, meaning, you put a camera on, or you review video. Um, but where where the storytelling would take place would be whenever I concluded the investigation and it was time to chat with this person, this David, hypothetical David B. I'd bring him into the office, introduce myself, let him know that I'm an investigator. I investigate cash losses, and your name has come up um, on my reports, as well as other information that I obtained to help me with my investigation. Um, but I have found out as I'm doing these interviews that telling a story um, often will lead that person down the path that we're hoping for, which is a confession. Yes, I did take the money. Um, you know, a lot of times I say during all the investigations, during the interview process, would be, okay, I know when you did it, I know how you did it. I know the dates. I even know what you spent the money on. but there's only one thing I don't know. And they would go, what? I said, it's the why. Why did you do it? And I said, I would say to them, I would try to take that that impact of, someone saying, I caught you stealing, you may be going to jail. I say, look, people steal for all kinds of reasons. And I would tell a story about, and it doesn't mean you're a bad person. Um, and I would tell them a story about a young single mother who was short on cash multiple times, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And she did it very consistently, but I would know her as a person too. I said, there's got to be more to this story. So when I pulled her back there and I interviewed her, she was very upset, but I calmed her down. And, I said, people steal for different reasons. I don't know why you did. So, can you explain to me? I'm here for you. And she told me that she did it. She was a single mom, that she literally didn't have any food to provide for her kids or money for shelter. And I said, wow. So I would use that story, when I spoke to others. I said, people do it for all different kinds of reasons. It doesn't mean, yes, it's against the rules and against the law, but people have different reasons for taking cash or stealing. And I'm not the one to judge. And so that would help ease the burden to them, because they would often go, yeah, something, I did steal, David. I took it because I didn't have any gas money, or I had to pay some bills. They were going to cut my cell phone bill off. I said, well, there you go. That's why you did it. I'm just going to put that in my report. And anybody that reads it will have now more understanding versus, yeah, I took it because you guys owe me the money because you haven't been paying me what it's a lot better than that. So yes, I would often refer back to this one mother who took money, not because she wanted to get one over on the company, but she did it out of desperation to feed her children's mouths and provide roof overhead, because no one else was doing it. So she had to do what she thought she had to do. But the moral of the story is that, sometimes we do have to tell stories in order to get, to another point, for a different story to be told. So I often use that story all the time.
As you were speaking, I was trying to imagine myself in your same position, wondering if I ever could have done it. I don't think I could have given it the justice that you did, and without the judgment. So your compassion is wide. So thank you for the way that you treated those individuals with a sense of compassion to try to find out their why. Because yes, there's probably was a different why for each individual. And to get them to think about it too, and hopefully not repeat it, to find another possible solution. I'm sure that mother wanted to not have to go to jail so she could still be with her child. And maybe the employer offered her something more.
And we
So
did.
that, oh, that is wonderful. Oh,
We did.
that's such a
Important
feel
to know
good
the why.
story.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you for that. And I hope that our youth, when they see this video, that they will feel a sense of, you know what, I don't have to be desperate. There are people who will be in my village who will help me, and I can ask them for the help, ask them for resources, rather than doing something illegal instead. So I love the way you and your company handled that. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So here's our next question.
Okay.
What techniques do you use to ensure the stories that you tell resonate with your target audience?
All right. Well, I use my experience for the most part of my working career. And, like I mentioned earlier, I've been down many paths, and I can offer that experience to others. And not, I've been working since 1989. Um, so I do have a lot of experience of, human relationships, work relationships, uh, to offer somebody, especially when they ask. But I'm kind of a person that I like to share, um, because I don't really enjoy seeing others, struggle when they don't have to. When you have an answer for them, I think it's all of ours. Um, I think it's everybody's responsibility to be there for their fellow, brother and sister. Um, but I use basically mentoring. Like I have an example here. I'm just referring to my notes. And it's I'm trying to recall exactly because I want to share this detailed.
Certainly.
So I have mentoring a person, uh, you know, of just being patient with a process, whatever that process may be, whether it's, your students at your school, or it's someone who has started out as a server who has aspirations uh, to be an operations manager. Um, if you're hungry enough for it, um, you'll get there. You'll get to that finish line that you set your goals on, no matter what. But you know, patience is a key. They often say patience is a virtue. Um, and mastering your trade. Know your trade. Know what your studies are. Know whatever it is. Know it inside and out, and love what you do. Um, and when opportunity presents itself, you're gonna know. You just know. Like you have, gone through it so many times in your head, that when that opportunity extends its hand, you're going to grab it and you'll know exactly that time. But that all takes, patience and hard work. It takes being humble and being able to be a active listener, especially to those who are mentoring you or trying to help you, whether it's a manager at work or a teacher as yourself. You have to keep all those things, intertwined, because it'll help that progress of you achieving your goal so much quicker. Um, and in my business, we rate, uh, when when my manager, let's put it this way, my manager does my review. Sometimes they rate my overall performance, and not really on so much always like who has the most sales, but they often will rate, a good manager will rate somebody by people development. How many people have you developed? How many have you spent time coaching and training? How many people have been promoted? These are all very important, especially in today's world, as people are working various jobs. They want more, more responsibility, which means more money, so they can, build their families. So, I want to be involved in that. I'm a very good mentor. I'm a very good teacher, because I'm very patient and I can work with all different types of walks of life with folks, and that's one of my, I guess, things that God has granted me is, to be a person that can connect to people. Um, and I literally enjoy watching someone grow. It's like my garden at home, and I water the plants and seeing those beautiful red tomatoes. Um, I relate it to that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It is so great for each of us to have coaches, mentors, even sponsors who can help us to find positions. when it's time after we've practiced patience and we've studied our craft. Um, so that is wonderful that you are doing that here in the Houston community. That's a testament to your being one of our leaders. So thank you. And don't stop, keep going. Keep going.
every day.
Here's our next question.
Okay.
What impact have you seen storytelling have on your audience's engagement and retention of material?
Um, well, the impact that I've seen uh, and experienced uh, is that when teaching others, um, if you pair it with a real life story, um, they often remember that teaching, from that story that you share. Um, so, for example, if I am very general, sometimes the story or um, the teaching or the showing perhaps will not stick like if I give them a real life story and they can really um, compare it to something that they may have experienced. Sometimes people have their own stories already, but you help them maybe format it to where they can share one day. Um, so I I think just utilizing your everyday life, especially if they know some of the details um, of your life, if they know your family or your wife or your kids or your best friends, you can kind of intertwine it. And I let me think of an example impact I have experienced. Yeah, I will again back to mentoring. I will often, compare when I was coming up, where when I first got into the restaurant business, I was doing the dishes and scrubbing the floors and cleaning the bathrooms, and just sharing it with others, saying, "Hey, this is like the rite of passage." Um, you know, you can't be just handed, the keys to a building and say, "Good luck." You have to actually physically know everything that you do uh, with your job as a boss. So if I say, Pat, um, can you please clean the bathrooms? I've cleaned the bathrooms myself. I know exactly, you know, how to teach, how to train, how to coach, or give direction. Um, these techniques are very important. That if I'm teaching a new egg cook, how to make omelets, I have to know how to make the omelet myself. Maybe not master that position, but do it in a matter of, okay, you oil the pan down, you butter it up, make sure the flame's on, medium. You crack the eggs, you put the eggs over here, and you go through that process. You show them the basic steps, and boom, here's the end result. Look how nice this omelet looks. And then you leave it up to that person to master that position on their own. You kind of showed them, you gave them the map, basically, and you leave it up to them to find the destination. And when they do, as a leader, I said, okay, you've been successful, you've made it to the destination. Now it's time to show you another map. So I'm in a sense a map holder. I give the GPS coordinates and I give it to them, and when they make it, I said, okay, great, you've been successful. The next step is how to order the food. Now you know how to make an omelet. Now I'm going to teach you how to order those eggs. And then one day you're going to teach someone to make that omelet yourself. That way you can break ahead and move. You can move up, and it goes like a chain. But being the leader, I'm kind of like the crank in a bike. I've got to keep that chain going. So there is some responsibility. So I use all kinds of different techniques. Um, when I'm trying to, get that impact of storytelling, and teaching it. So it all goes back to teaching others.
It really does. It really does. Teaching and directing are so synonymous. Just pointing people to where they need to go to get the job done. And then they'll, it's funny. You might have experienced this where you started in one place. In fact, you said it. You start with one set of duties and you never know where that's going to take you. But wherever it takes you, you might have to use those duties again. Like you might have to share those duties with someone, or if someone's missing, you might have to repeat those duties in their absence. So you're so right that we're never sure where it will take us, but we do know it's going to take us somewhere. And I admire that you're teaching it to others so they can have that same experience that you've had in a successful career. So thank you. What ethical considerations should one keep in mind when using storytelling in one's career?
Okay. Yes, that's a very interesting question. My feelings on that storytelling should be factual, and they should be professional in nature. Um, they can be, general as well. It really depends on the story that you're trying to tell, and the emphasis that you're placing on whatever that end result you're trying to achieve. Um, and the reason why I say you should keep stories professional and factual, is you'll find out that in life it's a small world. We often cross paths, um, and just having the integrity as a person, and you're sharing a story. Um, you never really want to share a story that maybe hurts someone's feelings or degrades another person, their character. Um, stick with the basics of, I'm telling you this story, and it's a story that is helping both you and me, actually. So my personal opinion is to keep it truthful. Uh, Try not to share personal information. Be general, because we're so even connected more so now. Years ago we were connected, but not anything like we are today. So what you share with somebody potentially change their day, their life, um, their opinion on somebody or something else. Um, but it should be more as a teaching or coaching, mentoring tool, versus a story where you're causing gossip or any other things like that, because it's a cancer to a workplace. It could be something that hurts, um, you know in any kind of school, your fellow students. And yeah, and then I think you get more out of a truthful story. I think you can learn more versus plugging in things that actually never happened, because you're going to teach somebody something that actually never happened. So the end result is not correct. So it's kind of wasting everybody's time. Um, Sometimes I will tell a story, and I may change a like I may change a person's name, or a location. If I'm telling a story and I say, man, that weather, well, I was in Houston and that weather sure was humid and muggy. And if I'm talking to a group that everybody's from Houston, I may not be so forward. I may use a story like, yeah, that weather and Dallas. It was steamy hot. Um, but other than that, it's I think it's super important that we're sharing information that can be passed down to others, um, and knowing that there's substance behind it and it's truthful.
Yes, the truth is so important, especially when we're training others. That's one of the reasons why I will ask someone I'm training if he or she will write an email to me to let me know, and they can put it in writing, right? That they actually understood what I said, and it will give me a chance to correct if they misunderstood it. But also on the flip side, if I had intentionally tried to train someone in an incorrect way, that person has evidence. If they send an email
Yeah,
to me saying, are discussing, I heard you to say this, this, and this. And if I don't correct it and I intentionally didn't tell them the truthful way to do the job, then I might suffer repercussions. So ethically, it's best to just go with what's really the truth, especially when we are trying to train someone to be successful in their career. So
yeah,
thank you for that.
it's a great
Yes,
point. And in my current profession, I work with food safety. And
yes,
when we're training, it's so important that food is kept in certain temperature windows. Okay, it can't be above 41, and it can't be you know under basically freezing, 31. It can, but certain foods need to be in that window. And if someone doesn't adhere to those teachings, it could cause other issues. um so it's got to be accurate. And as I'm telling the story, hey, one time, when I worked for this other company, as general, this other restaurant, they had food that was stored at improper temperature. And do you know what happened? They go, the health inspector came in. I said, no, that is a possibility, but someone consumed some of the food and they became sick that night, um, because it was improperly stored. I said, so it's important, that we adhere to these standards and we take it serious because we're now affecting someone else's life. So now, if I told them a story of like, when you're doing this food, it's okay to leave it out for an hour past the temperature. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. And then someone gets sick, then to your point, I will be liable. I not only trained this person wrong, now that person is going to train someone else wrong and say it's acceptable. So yes, it is so important. So that was a very good point.
thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, well, lastly, do you have any news that you'd like to share with our audience members?
Yeah, I do. I have some news. So I, I, well, not I, but my wife and I are expecting a child here in about 6 weeks. Um,
Oh,
so we're super excited. Um, it's a baby girl. Her name will be Presley Marie.
yes.
And I couldn't be any more happier. So you know she works for a different restaurant company. And so I told her about I was doing this storytelling, and she was like, David Ryan, you're such a good storyteller. And I said, there is a question though that I asked about any news that I have. And so I was looking forward to bringing that up. So yeah,
Oh,
we're getting ready for baby showers coming up, and we'll have another member um, of the family who, I will have to tell stories to, and now bedtime stories. And Um, but teaching and guiding this little girl to, become the best person, best human being that she can. And that's why I love the job that I do. I had that opportunity. And it's funny, all the folks here I consider as like my kids. I feel that responsible for their well-being, their safety, and their progress in life. Um, so stories are, I think, more important than one may think. And I just love the subject that you came up with here for this session that we've had on explain the importance of storytelling. It's wonderful.
Well, thank you so much to you for being a part of this, and that we can share it with even more youth. And congratulations to you both.
Thank
I
you.
am so excited for you.
I know I
That
never
is going to be wonderful.
yes. Didn't I didn't expect, having a child coming around, but I think it was a gift. And I'm
Always, always a gift, always. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for taking time to do this interview with me today, Mr. Ryan. Um, and I'm just going to put in a shameless plug for you all again. Please remember, audience members, that he mentioned that he works at First Watch Restaurant. I eat there often. The food is so yummy. And so go there. You won't be dissatisfied. You'll enjoy the food. You'll enjoy the atmosphere. And the staff will treat you so kindly. So take a chance if you haven't gone there yet, okay? And please remember, we want all of you to know that each of you has an important story, and that story is worth telling. Well, again, I'm Dr. Daintee Jones. I serve as Director of Fund Development at the Ensemble Theater. And this series is in support of the Young Performers program here at the Ensemble. Youth are ages 6 to 17. Until next time, don't forget to tell your story. Goodbye.